All right, let's talk about something huge. There is a massive, and I mean massive, revolution happening in global finance. And it's happening almost silently. And you know who's leading it? A company we all use every single day, Visa. They're not just dipping their toes in crypto, they are fundamentally rewiring the entire system for how money moves around the planet.
Now, this quote really gets to the heart of it. This is a powerful idea because it perfectly frames what we're talking about today. We're moving way beyond just the crazy price charts and speculation. We're talking about the core technology, the actual operating system that could run the future of finance. Okay, before we dive in, just a quick heads up from our friends at Payment Innovation who made this explainer possible. Everything we're about to cover is for educational purposes only, so please remember this is not financial advice.
So what is actually going on here? Look, Visa isn't launching some flashy new crypto coin to get headlines. No, they're doing something way, way more important. They are changing the foundational plumbing of the financial world, the deep, hidden infrastructure that moves trillions of dollars every single day.
It's kind of funny. You've got a lot of the big traditional banks still fighting crypto, or at least being very skeptical of it. But Visa? They've taken a totally different approach. They're adopting it. And their target is a big one. The 50-year-old SWIFT network that has been the backbone of international payments for, well, forever. Now, to really get why Visa's move is such a game changer, you have to understand the problem they're solving. So let's talk about that old system, a network called SWIFT. It's been called Stone Age wiring infrastructure, and for good reason.
So SWIFT is basically the world's text messaging system for banks. It just sends instructions back and forth. But here's the catch. It's technology from the 1970s. And in today's world, that comes with some major drawbacks.
Get this. Imagine your company makes a huge $50 million sale on a Friday afternoon. What happens to that money? Nothing. It doesn't move on Saturday, it doesn't move on Sunday, it gets completely stuck in this void of intermediary banks and might not show up until Wednesday. This is a massive headache for businesses.
And here's what that delay actually means. It forces companies to park billions and billions of dollars in accounts all over the world, just sitting there. It's what's called dead capital. It's money that can't be used for growth or investment because it has to be available just to cover these payment delays. The whole system is just filled with friction. So, that's the problem. How do you fix it? Well, Visa looked at all this friction and had a realization. Blockchain technology gives them the tools to build brand new financial rails that are actually built for the internet age. And when you put the old rails and the new rails side by side, wow, the difference is just staggering. You go from a system that takes days to one that takes seconds, from only being open during business hours to being on 24/7, 365 days a year. And the cost? It goes from being really high to nearly zero. This is all possible using stablecoins like USDC on super fast networks like Solana. You know, Visa's choice of Solana wasn't some random pick. It wasn't about hype or what's popular. This was a cold, hard, technical decision. They needed a network that was insanely fast, we're talking 400 milliseconds, and could handle a gigantic volume of transactions. For what they needed to do, Solana was the right tool for the job. Okay, this next part is absolutely critical to understanding just how big of a deal this is. We need to talk about the difference between a payment and a settlement. They sound similar, but in the world of finance, they are two totally different things.
So, the payment part? That's what you and I see every day. You tap your card to buy a coffee and boom, it says approved. It feels totally instant. But that's just the front end, the tip of the iceberg. The real work is happening behind the scenes.
And this is the settlement. This is the back-end process where the banks actually move the real money from your bank to the coffee shop's bank. This is the slow, clunky part that relies on SWIFT. And it is this entire back-end plumbing that Visa is ripping out and replacing with blockchain, making settlement happen in seconds, not days.
I really need to stress this point. This is not some small experiment. This is not a pilot program to test the waters. No way. This is a live, fully operational, and rapidly growing piece of Visa's global business.
Yeah, just look at that number. $2.5 billion. That's the annual run rate of stablecoin settlements that Visa is already processing. This isn't some theoretical future. It's happening right now, at a massive scale. The proof is right there.
So you might be wondering, okay, why is this all kicking off right now? Well, it's really a perfect storm of a few key things.
First, the tech itself, these high-speed blockchains are finally mature enough for this kind of heavy lifting. And second, we're finally getting some regulatory clarity that gives big companies the green light they needed. It just makes good business sense.
You know, when a company like Visa, the biggest payment network on the planet, makes a decision like this, it's not based on hype. It's a purely rational business decision because the technology is simply better. It's faster, it's cheaper, and it's more efficient. That single act, by itself, pretty much ends the whole debate about whether blockchain is a viable technology for finance.
So let's zoom out for a second. Let's look at the bigger picture here and think about what this really means for the future. We're at a real fork in the road. It's really important to see the two different paths emerging. What Visa is building is an incredible, supercharged version of the centralized financial system. It's super convenient, but it's still controlled. That's a very different vision from the original promise of crypto, which was all about decentralized, permissionless finance, about individual sovereignty. And that really just leaves us with this final big question to think about. Visa has cracked the code. They've made money move at the speed of the internet. The next great chapter isn't about the speed itself, it's about what we all decide to build on top of these brand new, instantaneous financial rails. Thanks for tuning in.